Hello and welcome to Horror Rewind. This is Kelly Florence.
And I'm Meg Hockdahl.
And we are your hosts. Let's tell you a little bit about what Horror Rewind is. Each week we will be picking a movie from our childhood and then rewatching it and discussing what we remember, how we remember it. This is Childhood Revisited.
I'm so excited. This is episode 1. Woohoo!
Yay, so we want to introduce ourselves a little bit. So Meg, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I have loved horror since I can remember. I grew up kind of moving around a lot, and something that just really resonated with me in childhood were horror movies. And I kind of started out watching Matlock and Murder, She Wrote with my mom, and that's kind of how I started getting interested in, murder and those kinds of things. And then as I grew, I would go to the movie store every Saturday to the local Blockbuster or Mr. Movies, and I would go straight to the horror movie section. That's where I just got the most excited, and I would use my allowance, and I would pick out a VHS or 3 to bring home, and that was an important place for me when I was growing up. So I'm really excited about the concept of our podcast because we're going to be able to talk about and watch these horror movies that we haven't watched in so long because life kind of got in the way and we haven't been able to watch these beloved movies. So
now, and horror is actually a part of your career now.
Yeah.
Or it is your career.
Yeah. I'm a horror author. I have 2 short story collections published. I describe myself as kind of female-driven horror suspense author, and
you got a novel coming out.
My first novel's coming out this year. I'm in the middle of editing it right now, and I'm really excited to share it. And horror is a big part of who I am. And we were talking before about when we were little girls. We didn't necessarily feel like we could say that because people thought we were odd.
Yeah, I remember, well, me too, a little bit about my background. I grew up with horror movies, and it was my dad who was a big horror fan in our house and watched horror movies growing up, and it's not necessarily something that, there weren't horror movie t-shirts in the girls section, for example, growing up, or if I had, decided to wear a Freddy Krueger shirt or a Michael Myers t-shirt or something, that probably would have been frowned upon. I remember I was the Bride of Frankenstein in 1st or 2nd grade for Halloween, and I think I had to explain to a few people who I was because, to peers, because that was, probably a little odd for
I would have loved you. I wish we could have been friends as kids.
We would have.
We didn't meet until we were older. Well, like high school, a little bit older, but I felt like Halloween was like my day. Like,
absolutely.
That was my day. I could actually feel comfortable in my own skin and choose who I wanted to be. And it was, from the time I think the last time I actually was something nice was probably Snow White when I was about 5 or 6, maybe 5. And then I wanted to be something scary.
Yes.
I wanted to be Lizzie Borden. I did a dead businesswoman where I was a zombie and I gave out business cards. When I went trick-or-treating. So I took it all very seriously.
That reminds me of the scene in Mean Girls. This is not a horror movie reference, but in Mean Girls, Lindsay Lohan dresses up as a dead vampire bride, and everybody else is like a sexy something or other, and she's like, it's Halloween.
Yeah,
what the heck?
So it's supposed to be scary.
That's what we're all about.
Yeah.
Well, the format, as we mentioned, is going to be picking a movie each week, and then rewatching it separately and then discussing it. So this week was my pick, and it is Night of the Living Dead.
So tell us why you chose Night of the Living Dead.
Well, back when in my very first VHS was a gift for Christmas morning. There were 2 VHS tapes under the Christmas tree, and I got Night of the Living Dead, and my sister got Gulliver's Travels, and that was my introduction to horror, and what a classic, what a great movie to start with. So I still have that VHS. It's lovely.
That's cool that you kept it. That's really cool.
It's a little bit of history about Night of the Living Dead. It was released in 1968. George Romero directed it, of course. He's a legend now for this movie. Well, a legend in my eyes anyway. They had a budget of $114,000. They made $12 million domestic and $18 million international. And if you think about inflation, I think that's pretty good for the time. They made a lot of money with it. But the critics didn't love the movie. They were actually pretty critical of it because it had such explicit gore for the time. And that, to me, is crazy because now, they show more gore on a commercial for The Walking Dead than there is in this entire movie.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. But I guess it's no old thing or no new thing for horror movies not to be liked by critics.
No, true. So another interesting note, this was pre-ratings, so it wasn't rated R or anything, there just wasn't ratings yet. And horror movies were often shown in the afternoon at drive-ins, so there were a lot of kids that ended up seeing Night of the Living Dead, and I wonder what they saw. I mean, with a title like that, you probably...
You know what you're getting into, right? I mean, there couldn't have been too many housewives or moms that were like, what? What's going on?
Well, what is this?
I thought this was a romance.
So, should we talk about the movie?
Yeah, and just so you guys know, we're going to talk about the movie, there are spoilers ahead. We're going to assume that you guys have probably watched it, and we're kind of going to talk about it in that way. So, let's just start at the beginning.
Well, the music begins for this movie, and you just know it is on. It looks amazing. It's black and white, 1968. The music's
great. That's the scene.
It's so good. And the opening sequence and the opening shot, it reminded me of my surroundings in northern Minnesota, so it felt relatable.
I love horror movies that are rooted in real places. I think they're more scary that way. And I think the whole setup of the movie was relatable. A brother and sister, the brothers being annoying. I think we could all relate. I really like how it's set up. And I wrote down in my notes it had a Twilight Zone feel because that was, of course, at that same time. And I just felt like something great was coming. And I did not see this movie until I was about 12 or 13 because I am a Dawn of the Dead fanatic. That was kind of a big movie for me. And so I finally got around to seeing Night of the Living Dead when I was a little bit older. And right away I was drawn in. And now as an adult rewatching it, I was drawn in and excited to watch.
Absolutely. Something that struck me as a kid was, well, first of all, it looked like it could be around my house where it was filmed. It was filmed in Pennsylvania, but it looked, familiar. And then they were also going on this trip to the cemetery to put flowers on a grave. And I went on many of those trips with my family, and we'd put flowers on our ancestors' graves. And so it seemed like, just a typical weekend thing. It's like, oh, this could happen to me. And the thing about the annoying brother, I have to admit, I was probably the annoying one. Well, not probably, I was. I was more into scary things than my sister was, and I would scare her, and I would do things like tell other kids that Freddy Krueger, I saw him outside the window, and, I'd like to scare kids. You probably did too, right, Meg?
Yeah. My good friend Jen, who's still my friend, I would like to know, I scared her really bad. She came to my house, it was, I think, 3rd or 4th grade, and it was her first time coming to my house, and my mom had left to go get us McDonald's, of course, and probably to go get us horror movies, and I confided in her that the reason we moved a lot was because we were murderers, and that we kept bodies in our house, and we had to be transient, and I really sold it. And so she went out running, and she fell over this partition, hurt herself, and right as my mom came in with the Happy Meals, and my mom was not happy with me.
Wait, how old were you?
Like 4th grade. But she's still my friend. But she talks about that fondly.
Yes, that's great. Well, speaking of terrorizing people, this movie begins, and we're not sure what the zombies are yet. We don't know if this is a crazy person in the graveyard or if it's a zombie. We know if we've seen it, but it just looks like a guy, but something is off about him.
What struck me about him was how different he is to the zombies of today. When you see a zombie in Walking Dead, especially now that we're getting on, and the zombies are really rotting and stuff, they're so different than this guy. This guy looks like normal. From a distance, Barbara and I don't know what's his face, Johnny. They see him and then Johnny's giving her a hard time, and says the classic where they're coming to get you, Barbara. And the guy looks normal. I mean, maybe a little off though. And then as he gets closer, it's like, oh my god. So what was so cool about it was how unmakeupped he was.
Yes.
Like he was like so natural looking, and like his eyes were so sort of alive still. So I don't know. I kind of thought it was scarier than like one of the zombies I've seen recently.
Well, and I think we've talked about this before, but the scariest thing in life is not necessarily monsters from movies, but real people who intend to do you harm. And this guy, he's got that look about him. You don't know yet. Is he a psycho killer? Like what's going on? Or he ends up being a zombie, but the way he moves and how he moves is just terrifying. He breaks into their car and it feels so real, and it's fascinating and frightening. And it starts so fast. It just starts. The movie gets going.
There's so many horror movies where you have a lot of waiting to do. This was not one of them. It just goes right away. I feel like I definitely can relate to Johnny, because I feel like that would be me in the zombie apocalypse. I feel like I'd be the first person to die. I would be knocked over by a zombie, and I would hit my head on the headstone, and that would be the end of me. I know.
Yes, because we'd be busy like teasing someone else.
Yeah, I would be. Yeah, exactly. I think we've already proven we would be the little shits that would be. So yeah, I definitely feel like I would be the first to go.
Something about the way the zombies move in this, they're not fast, but they're strong. They fight back, and they use tools, they use weapons. They grab people. Oh, the guy with the cart, he uses a brick to get into their car.
He uses a brick to get in the car. Zombies do not do that. Like now, I feel like they're so dumb now.
Yeah.
I don't think they do stuff like that anymore. And there was one using a crowbar.
Yes.
Yeah, they're kind of different, and it's cool to kind of see the genesis of zombies. I went into this sort of deep hole of research, and they were talking about the guy, and I didn't write his name down, the guy who is the first zombie, and they said this guy that was going to be the first zombie, the one who throws Johnny onto the headstone and gets into the car, they said he basically came up with how zombies move.
That's amazing.
Like, and they said he was really struggling, he didn't know how to act, and they were like, just do what you know makes you feel good. And yeah, they credit that guy with kind of beginning what we know now as zombies and their movements and how they act. So that's awesome. So that's kind of cool to think about.
So I'm going to throw Barbara under the bus. I'm sorry, but
nope.
Barbara always annoyed me, and with this rewatch, I haven't watched this probably in 15 years.
No, me neither.
She still annoyed me. She is not a strong female character. Yeah. She's weak and she doesn't do anything, and I just want her to do something.
It's like, Barbara, just say something.
Yes.
Even if you just say something, Barbara. Yeah, yeah, it's like, well, and I think I was saying this before, when we were talking before about another horror movie, I was saying, I don't like when we have a female and then the movie shifts away from her perspective. We were really seeing things from Barbara's point of view, and then she became so shocked and such a limp dish rag that we didn't really get to continue the movie with her. She kind of faded to the background, and Ben, of course, shows up, and Ben is the polar opposite of her. He takes charge. I wrote in my notes he's like a MacGyver because he's like fashioning things. He just knows what to do. And yeah, Barbara is a disappointment in this movie. We definitely like movies with strong females in them. Not necessarily strong to the point that they're not complicated and interesting and even have moments of cowardice, but Barbara didn't do anything. I just kept writing down, Barbara, do something, or get moving. Please do anything. She could barely help him when he was like, come on, let's board this up.
And he knew the questions to ask. He's like, okay, where's the vehicle? Do you know, do you have gas? Do you have the keys to that gas pump? And all of that. And so Ben had it together. He knew what was going on. He kept moving forward. And Barbara was just paused.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so frustrating.
It was really frustrating.
But some other characters are introduced to us at this point. There's Harry, the jerk, and his wife Helen, and then they have a daughter Karen, who's turning into a zombie downstairs in the basement. There's also Tom and Judy, which is the young couple.
Oh, goodness. Okay, so I wrote on my paper, white dudes are here, because of course you'd be remiss not to, mention that there's a woman and there's an African American man. And in 1968, I don't think there were a lot of movies, TV shows, where a duo like that, anything was happening with them. And then, of course, I wrote white dudes are here because then, of course, the misogynist / racist Harry, who's in every horror movie, of course, came. And then, yeah, Tom. Oh, poor Tom.
He's so lovable.
He's so lovable. He's so sweet. And so is Judy, and they're so 1968. Oh, they're so cute. But Helen, love her. Oh my god,
yes,
I love her.
She knew what was going on. She realized, and probably knew her husband was a jerk, but
yeah,
in the situation, there wasn't much she could do about it.
What can you do?
But it's just fascinating to me. It's this dynamic of seeing a loved one getting slowly turning into a monster, or eventually turning into a...
Do you think they knew?
No, I don't think they did, but
it's happening.
Yes, it's happening.
And as moms, we're thinking, what would we do?
If your child or your friend or your loved one turned into a zombie, could you really, pull that trigger or
no.
kill them? I don't think so.
If my 6-year-old came at me, no.
Oh, child zombies.
No,
they're worse. They're the worst because they're
so cute too.
I know. I'm torn. It's difficult. Oh,
yeah.
So something else that struck me about this movie is anytime they're showing these news reports, they're watching the news on the TV. It looked so realistic, and I don't know if it was filmed with non-actors or if they just filmed it this way, so it seemed really real, but it looked like real news reports, and that made it even more terrifying, because it's like, wait, is this really happening?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't seem like overproduced. They seemed like real, local, like, oh crap, the zombie apocalypse is happening, and we don't know what to do about it.
And the plot is set up so well, because at first they're saying just stay put, stay in your places, and okay, that sounds fine, but then they start talking about, these safe places you can go, and Karen, the girl who's sick downstairs, she needs to get to a doctor, they imagine, and so they have to go, and it sets up this big turning point where they have to go put gasoline in the truck, and of course it leads to the...
Oh my god, he literally... Tom sprays that truck with gasoline. God. Tom, no.
Poor Tom.
Oh, Tom. I mean, I know Johnny had a bad death, but that one was rough, because, I mean, Tom just poured gas all over that truck with his girlfriend inside.
And then, of course, Judy, first of all, she knew not to go. Like, she realized it was a bad idea, but then she goes anyway. And then, like, her shirt gets stuck or something. It was so dumb.
It was so, that one was like, but then the barbecue.
Oh, God. This scene, it's like the zombie feast of these zombies at the truck eating poor Tom and Judy.
Best part of the movie.
It's like, it's intestines and the sound effects. And the ripping of meat off of bone.
And them fighting. I mean, what's better than zombies fighting over
God.
intestines? I love it.
It's so disgusting. It's so good. And something else that pains me about close to this scene is that we don't know yet, or they don't understand fully, how to kill a zombie. We know because we've seen a million zombie things by this point in our lives, but they're wasting bullets, not giving in headshots. It's so frustrating.
It is really frustrating. It's super frustrating. And yeah, we know now because of this movie what to do in this situation. Oh my gosh, that scene though. The zombies are so eerie. Like they're none of them are like really gross. Like
nobody's totally rotted away
yet. They're still very human and
it's,
like
recently deceased.
Yeah, it's very recent because this is such a fresh thing. And I wrote toga zombies and boxer zombies.
Yeah.
There was naked zombie. There was the zombie that ate the bug, which I loved. That was just a great little moment. I felt like this movie kind of had a few moments where it was like not taking itself too seriously, which I think is always great in a horror movie to kind of be like, oh, we're being a little goofy. What else?
Well, the zombies they're smart. I feel like they're smart. They're using weapons. They're trying to get into the house. They know, I mean, even if you're just quiet, they're still trying to get in there. They realize what they're going after. And that's terrifying. So, okay, at this point, Ben is trying to get back into the house. And I wrote, Harry is a coward. He's the worst. He's trying to hide. He's not letting Ben in.
Harry.
And this is the kind of villain, and it's so satisfying, spoiler alert, that he has this really satisfying death. It's satisfying to me because Ben gets to shoot him. He falls down a flight of stairs, and then he's trying to touch his daughter one last time, and he doesn't get to.
One of my favorite conceits is strangers stuck somewhere. Because I think I just love any sort of Agatha Christie situation where you have all these strangers and then they can't escape. It's like you get to see the dynamic of all these people, and that is the best. With Harry, he is such a coward, and Ben is such a take-charge person, and he's just not going to take it anymore. He just shoots him. I mean, it's kind of a shocking moment.
It is shocking,
I didn't remember it. I didn't remember that part.
Yeah.
And you'd think that the zombies are your worst problem, but it's actually assholes like Harry.
And I mean, that's what's fascinating about The Walking Dead, for example.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, it's about zombies, but it's really more about humanity and relationships and what we do to survive. Speaking of surviving, nobody survives.
Nobody survives.
Karen kills Helen in one of the most epic moments and terrifying memories of my childhood with a garden tool.
I'm just imagining you, little Kelly, sitting there just like,
oh my god.
Oh my goodness.
Well, okay, so it's shot perfectly. There's this terrifying echoing scream, and they're showing this killing with a shadow on the wall, and there's blood splatter, and it's so well done and terrifying. And imagine, I mean, your child is killing you, or you have
what do you do?
Family member.
What do you do? Nothing. You just are you're in such shock that they're killing. And that girl looked creepy.
Oh, she was so scary.
Yeah, that's an amazing scene. I kind of forgot about it, so that was kind of fun because I remembered, I knew she killed somebody, but I'm so desensitized now by we've mentioned The Walking Dead and other zombie shows and movies where this movie, they're using tools and stuff.
Yes.
I just assumed she was gonna bite her. I forgot about the garden tool. That's amazing. And I do have to think what were they thinking in 1968? I guess that was shocking.
Oh my gosh, yeah, if you brought your kids to the drive-in. Yikes.
Yeah.
So I keep mentioning, family members becoming zombies. Well, poor Barbara gets to see Johnny. He became a zombie, and I wrote, she finally gets up at this point in the movie, and you think...
she finally gets off the couch.
She literally finally gets up, and she's starting to hold the boards to keep them coming in, but she sees Johnny, and that all goes down the toilet, because it's her brother, and she loves him, and there she goes. She's torn in, and there's nothing she can do about it.
And it makes me think, there's that... that's kind of an iconic scene that I think we see a lot in zombie stuff now, and I think that was the first of that kind of wave of zombies coming in and somebody getting pulled into that wave. I'm thinking of Shaun of the Dead.
Right.
They do that, and I'm sure it was an ode to this.
Well, and also to see your family member who you thought was dead, they've come back, but now they're one of the monsters, too. That's a huge moment.
I mean, it kind of plays on this thing of... I mean, I think that's why zombies endure, is it's playing on this idea that we do want our family members to not be dead. So when we see somebody like that, what would you do, really? Especially in the situation where it's 1968. Zombies don't really exist. And I know that's what I'd be telling myself if I saw a zombie. No, zombies aren't real. My little kid certainly does not have a garden tool in their hand. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's why zombies now and since 1968 have terrified us.
Absolutely. So the ending of this movie, it always killed me. It makes me so sad because we follow Ben. He is the hero of our tale because he is this strong character. He stood up for what's right. He helps other people. He survived. He does the difficult thing, and he makes it all the way to the end. But then he doesn't.
That's such a great punch in the gut.
Yeah.
I mean, that's weird to say great punch in the gut, but it's such a poetic moment because this guy casually murders a human being.
Right.
And I feel like there's being so much said there, and I'm just not smart enough to understand this.
Well, like the allegory of race at the time, and so the civil rights movement, and this group of good old boys coming and shooting him. It's so... It all went over my head as a kid, and just on this rewatch now, I was like, oh my gosh, like George Romero really did something here. It was pretty amazing. But overall, I can't believe it. I can't believe that. What a great movie to be introduced to for my first VHS and my first horror movie as a kid.
And who did you say gave it to?
My dad.
He's so smart.
Oh, yes,
he knew what to do. He knew. That's awesome. That's really cool. I'm glad our parents weren't worried about what we were watching.
Yeah, they didn't worry. Wait, do you have anything else to say before I tell them about something?
I just want to backtrack for a minute. That creepy ass body that they find in the house, that's what stuck with me when I watched it when I was, I don't know, 12 or so. I don't know, there's something about that body. It's creepy. It's scary.
There's certain sound effects that they play at moments.
I think that must be it.
That just added something so terrifying. And still, on my rewatch, I was like, oh, this makes me feel uncomfortable. Like, I feel uncomfortable in my body.
That's what it was. It was like this discomfort, and I'm always that, I mean, since forever, I want to see the blood and the guts and the gore. But there's just an uncomfortable, a level of discomfort that I felt with that body, where I was like, I kind of hope they don't go upstairs and, like, see that body again, but I kind of hope they do. So, I don't know, there's just some really deft moments where you can see the good directing. You can see that that this goes above and beyond like just any old low budget horror movie of the time.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one of those moments. But of course the ending just sticks with everybody, I think.
So something we're going to do week to week on Horror Rewind is we have a set of questions and a rating scale that will change week to week to talk about the movie. So, Meg, you can ask me the question since this week was my pick.
Kelly chose this week, so I'm going to ask you. Did it live up to your memories?
I think Night of the Living Dead actually exceeded what I remembered, because I loved it for what it was, but now I could look back and really appreciate this gem of cinema.
What scene stood out to you?
Let's see. Well, from my childhood, the scene with the garden tool and killing the mother, it was what I remembered most. But this time, it was Ben shooting Harry. I did not remember that he killed him, and I thought that really stood out to me this time, and it was very satisfying.
Okay, yeah, well, the next question was there anything you didn't remember? So you didn't remember.
Oh, yeah, I didn't remember that.
I didn't either.
And then, what else didn't I remember? I guess I didn't remember how much the music and sound effects played a role in my terror of certain scenes. I think that added a lot.
And in such a low budget movie, too.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's pretty impressive. Was it really scary to you when you were a kid?
There were certain parts that were scary. I wasn't the kind of kid who had to sleep in my parents' bedroom after watching a scary movie, unlike my sister. But I think, certain parts stuck with me, and I think it's still scary now.
Does it seem dated?
Well, I would say yes. It seems like a 1968 film, but I think that's okay, because it's set in that era, and it is that era, and for what it is in the budget and everything, how it was shot, I think it's perfect.
Something that we will want to discuss, because we both, I don't know, we're really passionate about women in horror and kind of our role in the horror genre. Did it pass the Bechdel test? And maybe remind everybody what the Bechdel test is.
So the Bechdel test is a test to see if two women are in a movie and if they talk to each other, if these women have names, if they're actual characters, and when they're talking to each other, do they talk about something other than a man? And this movie, it does barely pass the Bechdel test. There's a moment when Judy and Helen are in the basement and they're talking about Karen, the sick child. So yes, two women did talk to each other briefly. But, we're looking for that in movies, not just horror, but other movies and TV shows. And Are the women fully fleshed out? Could they be replaced with a lamp and it wouldn't change the plot? That's something that we're looking for.
And I mean, Barbara does her best lamp impression.
Oh, God.
But,
that lamp might have been better for fighting off zombies.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, and I will always, you know, now that I'm a grown-up, I will look at these from a more feminist perspective. Like I said, I was a little disappointed that we didn't get to kind of follow Barbara a little bit more, and she wasn't a stronger character. Again, though, I will say I did love Helen. I wrote fierce as fuck on here, because she was just like,
she was sassy and she knew what was happening.
Yeah, she was just like, she was not going to listen to Harry. What was her reaction when Harry died? I don't remember.
You know,
I don't think she cared.
No, I don't think she cared as much as she should have. And I think I was so happy and like running around the room with my hands over I don't even remember.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember her being like, oh my gosh, everything is over.
No.
Yeah. Okay, I think that was all the questions I had.
Anything else you want to say about Night of the Living Dead?
Oh my gosh, there's so much. Oh, I did want to just share a little bit of research. Just some interesting things I wrote down. George Romero, the director, said that he actually lived in the house while they were filming it.
What?
Yeah, and him and the producers, and there was no running water. So he said they would just take like a bath out of like out of like a bowl of water. And like just imagine filming that and then at night going to sleep.
I can imagine.
I mean, we're not easily frightened, but I feel like that would be a little creepy.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that would
I'm
be
sure
interesting.
they started to smell like the dead.
Yeah, no kidding. So I thought that was kind of interesting, but it's kind of cool to think about these young filmmakers doing that. Oh, and I also wrote down the only part of the set that was not there in that house was the basement, where all the action that happens in the basement actually was filmed in an office in Pittsburgh.
That's random.
I just thought that was interesting, because that little girl never comes out of the basement. If you think about it, does she?
No.
She's always in the basement. Does she ever come out?
No, I don't think
so. I don't think she was ever on location at the house. I just thought that was interesting.
That is.
Did we talk about... Yeah, we talked about the barbecue.
Yeah.
We talked about the organs. That was just my favorite part. I want to make sure we talk about it. Yeah.
Great. All right. Every week on Horror Rewind, we will have our last segment, the Fast Forward. Now, this segment will be talking about something current in the world of horror or something related to the world of horror that we talked about this week. And the person who will pick the Fast Forward will be the person who didn't pick the movie for the week. Have I confused you yet? I've confused myself. Since I picked Night of the Living Dead, this week is Meg's week for Fast Forward. Meg, what did you pick?
No, I'm just kidding. I knew that. So I kind of want to do something that was somewhat related. So I chose a movie that Kelly and I actually watched together. And Kelly's the only person who will watch horror movies with me. So I'm either alone or I'm with Kelly. Your son likes horror movies.
Yes, my 10-year-old is into horror movies with me, so he'll watch, which is awesome. But otherwise, yeah, it's you, Meg. And, you know, you were when we became friends, you were one of the first people. It's like, oh, the guys that we're dating won't go see horror movies. Let's go see them together. Because they're wieners.
Yep, they are wieners. My husband, he describes himself as a horror snob, and he only likes like horror movies that, you know, transcend the genre or something.
Okay,
and
so
he's a wiener.
No, okay, so I'm going to insert a story here, and if I could insert a gif of this, I will tweet it out. We went to see The Descent with her husband, and I think he leapt 6 feet in the air, like the first time we saw a creature through the night vision. So he's a wiener.
He's a wiener. So so I only go with Kelly now. And my kids are not interested either, but I'm trying to convince them. You know, as a mom, you try to do it and make it seem like it's their idea. So, okay. So the movie I want to talk about is a movie we watched together called Train to Busan. If you guys have not heard of it, it's on Netflix and it's a Korean film and it's really good. And it's starring Woo Gong, and Woo Gong is hot.
Yes. Okay, so
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if there's a name for this. Maybe we'll come up with it. It's the opposite of the Bechdel test, and this guy passes.
Yeah, we will objectify hot guys in horror movies. I think women have been objectified in horror movies enough.
Oh, definitely. So
I think,
and you know what? He's not even objectified. We're just saying he's nice to look at.
Yeah. But that's not why I chose Train to Busan.
No, yes, don't let us turn you off.
Yeah,
It's actually really
no,
good.
it's a really good movie. It has fast zombies in it, which is different than the very ambling, slow zombies in Night of the Living Dead. Train to Busan is definitely a faster paced zombie. And these zombies, they don't use tools, I don't think. Do you remember them using tools?
No.
I only remember them they're scary though. They are very scary.
God, sometimes the fast zombies are done well. They are terrifying.
And they're done so well in this movie. You guys, you have to check it out. It's 96% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. I wrote that down because for a horror movie, that's pretty great. There's a character in it that is so much like Harry from the Night of the Living Dead. I was thinking about that as I was doing the rewatch. I was like, oh wow, this sort of character really fits well in the genre, and I think is so relatable because I think a lot of people would be cowards in that situation. So there's a great character like that. But the main character, the guy that I was saying was hot, he is just a really complicated guy.
He's not 100% likable.
No, he's not. And actually, he kind of comes across another guy who ends up kind of like being more of the archetypal hero. But this guy, the main character, has a little daughter, and they're stuck on a train.
Oh gosh,
it's such a great setting.
Give me any movie, but especially give me a horror movie, and there's kids involved, and there's kids' lives at stake, and oh my god, it's so good, and it's so edge of your seat gripping. Like, I love this movie, and not just horror-wise, but this is one of the best movies I've seen in a long time.
Oh, I agree. And the characters are just so fully fleshed out. The horror is so real, and again, the setting, it's so cool. The whole concept that it's on a train and they are going from train car to train car when basically these zombies start eating people. So we definitely recommend it. We'll put up the trailer on our Facebook page and maybe our YouTube channel too.
Yeah, definitely check it out. So now we have to do our ratings for both movies that we talked about this week. Yeah. And, we've got our rating scale. Maybe we'll change it every week depending on what we're talking about. So, Meg, since this week we're talking about zombies, let's rate Night of the Living Dead and Train to Busan on a scale of 1 to 10 zombies. 1 being not great, not scary, didn't love it. 2, 10, perfect movie, love it.
Okay.
Night of the Living Dead, what would you rate? How many zombies would you give it?
I'm going to give it 9 zombies because it is the original. It's the OG. But, of course...
Or the OZ. If I had a rim shot.
Yeah. We'll edit it in later. I'm only not giving it 10 because I will soon... My true passion and love for Dawn of the Dead will reveal itself, I'm sure, in a later episode. So I have to give it 9. And then Train to Busan... Well, no, first you say your Night of the Living Dead.
I would give it 9.5 zombies because it introduced me to the genre and it had such fond memories for me, and it's still held up in my case. So the half zombie is the torso of a zombie crawling along. And now about Train to Busan, what would you rate this one?
Oh, this is tough because Train to Busan was so good.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it the same. I'm going to give it 9.
Well, I would have to agree. I know,
really?
Right? This is difficult. We did not talk about this ahead of time. But my goodness, I love this movie.
Yeah.
And truly, it's as I mentioned, one of the best that I've seen in a long while. So, yeah, we fully support these movies.
Yeah. Go see Train to Busan, and if you haven't rewatched Night of the Living Dead in a while, go do it. It was really fun.
So just a few plugs. If you're looking for us, Horror Rewind podcast, we are on Facebook, we're on Twitter and Instagram. You can also find our YouTube channel. And Meg, do you want to plug your author stuff?
Sure. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Meg Hofdahl. That's MEGHAFDAHL. And we'd also love you guys if you want to tweet at us or send us an email at horrorrewindpodcast@gmail.com. Let us know if you've got some stories about any movie that we're going to do. And also give us ideas of movies, because there might be a movie that was really important to you in your childhood, and maybe we both haven't seen it, and it'd be kind of fun to do that too. So, hit us up.
There's a fun app that we're on. It's called Anchor, and you can also call in and ask us questions on there, and we can answer your questions through the app. And we've got some horror music playing on there pretty much every day, so you can listen to some horror soundtracks, and that's kind of a fun way to get into contact with us as well. So until next time, and let's preview. Next week, Meg, it's your choice for a movie. Do you want to tell everybody what you picked?
I chose the 1976 Stephen King classic, Carrie.
Woohoo! So until next time, this has been Horror Rewind.